Audio.
Welcome back to Escape
Hey.
Reality Star Wars Talk. I'm your host, Caleb.
Hi, I'm Seth. You may have noticed we just talked for a good 6 seconds.
Yeah, I forgot to turn the mic on, but
Whoops.
we're there.
It's alright. We should be able to hear it. We should be able to hear us now. Yep.
Yeah, that's
that
right.
was the problem. We couldn't hear ourselves.
Yeah, I went deaf in the last few seconds, so no, I couldn't hear myself.
Oh.
No, but let let's do our usual thing before we get into. So we like to talk Star Wars here. We do have a book here to talk about today. I actually have the book this time. We used to always have the thing in front of us. Like there was a good few episodes where we always had
10 to 15 episodes.
probably 20 even, where we just always had the thing. But for the last year, we haven't really.
Yeah.
But this time we did. And but before we get into talking about that, we like to, and before we even get into some news, because there is a piece of Star Wars news, we like to normally start the show by talking about our week so far and what outside of Star Wars we've been up to. As usual, I'll go ahead and let you start us off. And
so, what do I want to talk about first?
Let's see. I know you. So you mentioned finishing. Finished New Vegas run. You finished. Or did you? Or 3. You were running 3 last time, weren't you? Or did you start New Vegas again?
I didn't. I haven't touched 3 or New Vegas in a bit.
Okay. You did finish Outer Worlds.
I finished up Outer Worlds. I explained my disappointment in the thinking that the chairman was going to be a fight, despite having already had a fight. Bloodborne. Did my first new game plus of it. That run is done, and dear God, I did not expect Martyr Logarius to be the real deal. He's like the boss of an optional area. You don't have to go there.
Yeah.
You can completely ignore him. But I was like, you know what? Why not? I'll do this fight. Some extra blood echoes, souls, runes, whatever you want to call them at this point.
Yeah, what are they in Bloodborne? Are they runes?
They're blood echoes.
Blood echoes, okay.
Yeah, you collect them, and then you inject them into your body with the help of a magic doll.
Okay, so in Dark Souls and Demon Souls, it's souls.
Yes.
Because souls is in the name.
Mm-hmm.
Bloodborne, it's blood
echoes.
Blood echoes, and then in Elden Ring, it's runes.
Mm-hmm.
Sekiro is theirs, or is that?
Sekiro has like a skill point and a money system.
Okay, is that one? If I'm remembering correctly, that one is from. No,
it is from FromSoft. It's another Soulsborne title. It's in the series.
Okay.
Although people seem to think it's not, because it's got more of a different aesthetic, although it's made by the same people.
Which, I mean, just because it's made by the same people...
No, same, like, director, team, and everything.
Okay. But
it's also very different because the story is a lot easier to follow.
Yeah. It's also a game that focuses more on the parrying system than the other games.
Like, other games have them.
But Sekiro focuses, its combat is focused on that.
Combat is focused on parrying, and
which is very similar to the Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor games. They're very much parry focused, especially in the boss fights. The boss fights, it's very much get your parries down, otherwise you will not win the boss fights, especially in Jedi Master or Grandmaster. In Grandmaster, you have to have to parry
or die.
Yeah. Especially for Fallen Order against Malicos.
Yeah, he's just up there.
Which I'm surprised I beat him as quickly as I did in that my Grandmaster run. Because remember, I did my Grandmaster run before Survivor came out.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was streaming it, and I was like, it took me an hour still, but that's still faster than I thought it would take me. And honestly, it ended up becoming... I would do really good at parrying in the first half, and then there's that halfway point in the fight where then Marin joins you.
Yeah.
So once you get Malchus down to half health, Marin joins you. And then what I learned for that is just be aggressive for me, anyways. That's how I won that fight, was being aggressive, because the more I did the pairing stuff during the second half, it just wasn't working for me.
Mm-hmm.
Although I know the way I did it is not the correct way to do it. I just got aggressive and it worked out.
Yeah. Look, the best way to play like Souls-like games is however the fuck you need to succeed.
Yeah. Like slow and steady.
The methods don't matter
Yeah.
as long as the end result is.
Like in most Soulsborne games and Souls-likes, yes, you want to be methodical and slow for the most part, but not
Every
always.
once in a while, then we'll be like, actually, you need to be really fast for this one.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then of course, speaking of Souls-likes, the new Lords of the Fallen remake is out now. Because they decided to do a remake of it because they were gonna do a sequel and then nobody liked the first one. All because it just was like for a Souls-like, it dragged in a weird. It was the first Souls-like that was because out of the Soulsborne like because it came out in 2013. So
I remember hearing about it at the time, and I also remember people not liking it then.
yeah, I hear this one is better. There's on the PC end though there was a bit of frame rate stutter, which is not good for a Souls-like game.
No, you need those. You need a proper frame count.
But I might check it out. I'll probably recheck out the first one because I remember having it for free at some point on PlayStation Plus.
And no, it's not.
So I think
Or
I
is it
have. I think it's
too
one.
many things?
Well, it's one of those games that you know how PlayStation Plus does their monthly free game. I think that was one of their monthly ones. So as long as you have your subscription paid, you have access to those games because those are the ones you keep forever, as long as you pay the subscription. So I think I still have access to the first game. Although I need to renew my subscription soon.
Yeah.
I've been paying the more higher one because you get the access to the classic titles as well. So you get access to PS2, PS3 games on the PS5 in my case. So imagine how smooth that is. It's pretty smooth playing. Like you'll hit what you think should be a load screen, and then it'll be like,
nope.
It's like here you go. Like I've been playing. I guess we're going into what I've been up to.
Yeah, what have you been up to?
So I've been catching up on my Patreon content, and part of that, for example, is playing Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2 because I beat 1. So Dark Alliance 2, which is a PS2 title that has been ported for the PS4 and 5. Obviously, PS2 loading screens, like I said, on the PS5, it's like there is no loading screen. Like it loads, and then it's one of those classic loading screens where you have to hit the input when the loading's done, where it'll be like, oh, loading done, hit X.
Yeah.
This is one of those where it's like the loading screen will pop up and it'll be a second, and then it'll be like, hey, go ahead and hit X now. Like whenever you want. It's just like whenever you want. It's already done. It's like, which. It's good. Okay, we're back. We're back. We're back up. We're back up. We lost.
Hello.
We lost y'all for a second, although, yeah. So we're good. It's steady again. Okay. But like I was saying, we just lost them just then, so we didn't. I don't think they missed anything. But yeah, it's one of those things where the frame, where like, it's a minor complaint, that it's a nitpick. And then the other thing I've been up to is continuing the Boulders. So I've taken the past 2 days off. Yeah. Just because I've been busy and just didn't feel like streaming, but...
You also brought it over to your PS5 over to my house so we could play some on Tuesday.
Yeah, we got a good bit in.
Yeah. I'm a jerk. I realized this as we were going through. I'm like, man, did I have to do the owlbear like that?
You didn't kill the baby owlbear, though.
No. Because it's not big enough yet.
So...
It wouldn't be a worthy opponent.
This is kind of a spoilers, but it's Act 1 stuff, so yeah. I don't feel bad at this point, because every version that's currently going to be out is out. Although we're still waiting on an Xbox version, and I think that's the only one that's being waited on that's not out yet. Um, but killing the owlbear was the mama owlbear is correct if you want the cub later.
Hmm. I
Because the cub can join our camp.
okay. I was just like, man, I can probably sneak through here fine, but I also see how much of like the area is.
Although we also have picked up Lizelle
We picked up
and
Lizelle
and Will.
Yeah.
So that's currently our Karlak yet.
No, we haven't.
But that's because we just haven't gone to where Karlak is
Yeah.
yet. We're
up,
near it.
we haven't picked up Withers either.
I thought, well, no, Withers is at the camp.
Is he?
Yeah, because we did that dungeon where Wither.
I don't think we did.
We didn't do the temple. Yeah, we
No.
did. We did.
No.
We didn't do the Jurgle temple.
We did not.
Oh yeah, you went straight to the goblin. You went straight to the Druid Grove.
Yeah. Like, I remember us looking at it and then ignoring it.
Okay, yeah. So I guess we got to go back and do that.
Yeah.
Um,
It's my fault, really.
I mean, it's up to you if you want to
Yeah.
go back, because once again, minor spoiler, not a story spoiler. Withers will join us no matter what. So even if we don't go back, Withers will eventually show up at our camp. He'll just be there. He'll be like, "Hey, you forgot to pick me up."
Oh, shame.
He's like, I need to be here for story reasons.
Oh yeah. Also, like the interactions we have with like different members of the camp are very
I think it's funny that you cannot talk to Shadowheart at all.
Yeah.
Because
Like,
I have
I
control of
remember
Shadowheart,
you
so
do.
anytime you
I remember like I think you dismissed her from the like link up
mm-hmm.
and I tried to talk to her and she's like, I don't want to fucking talk to you. I'm like, what did I do?
And I theorize it's just because you're player 2 on the split screen.
It might be.
Because I can talk to your party I can talk to Asterion if I wanted to, but you can't talk to Shadowheart.
I can talk to anybody.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Okay.
We're up. It's green.
Yeah.
I don't know why it keeps dropping that bad. That is the worst I've seen it in a minute. Oh, what I was saying. Back to my stream though.
Yeah.
I'm at the point.
You're a lot further ahead in that one.
I'm a lot further ahead in that. I'm pretty much at the end game. I just have to do a couple. I was telling you in the car or the truck on the way here. I just got to finish a couple more side things, and then I have to fight the absolute. I'm finishing some dealings I have with Raphael. Oh, the other side thing I did. I remember now what the other side thing I did before Raphael. I had to get Minsk and Boo in the party.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to do some side stuff to get them. And then what was the other thing? There was like one more thing I did. Now I can't think of it. But there was I'm basically like, what's everything I have to do before I I remember the other thing. I had to go underneath the name of the fortress. The worm I had to go underneath Worms. Where the flaming fists are. Because you got Worms Crossing.
Oh.
Where the flaming fists reside. I had to go underneath that because okay, this one's a bit of a bigger spoiler.
Spoiler warning.
And this is Act 3 stuff, so yeah, it's a bigger spoiler. There's a dragon beneath the city.
Okay.
Because apparently there has been a dragon there since almost the founding of Baldur's Gate.
Just hanging out.
Because Balduran and a dragon were cool with each other. And then Balduran went off on an adventure and the dragon hung out underneath the castle ready to defend Baldur's Gate when it needed it. And then Worms Crossing became the name of the place because it's in honor of the dragon. Because it's Worm with a Y. Not Worm with an O.
That's a very confusing way to name it then.
Alright. But that's what I've been up to and what you've been up to.
Oh, here's a dick move Bloodborne does.
Mm-hmm.
So once you beat the final boss, right?
Yep.
Credits roll. New game plus immediately. You do not get to stay in the same world. You get to stay in the same world, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's a new instance of it,
Yeah.
essentially, at that point.
Health has been increased.
So that means any side quests that you didn't complete.
Yeah, can't.
I mean, you still get a chance to do them, but now it's in a new run.
Yeah. I've managed to complete the side quests I was trying to go after, because there's the classic, like, FromSoft thing of, like, certain side quests are better off not being completed.
Mm-hmm.
Bloodborne's first one that teaches you this lesson is, there's a little girl, right? And she's like, Mister, have you seen my mom and my dad? And it's like, no, but I'll look for them. And it's like, alright, here you go. Take this music box. Dad gets, like, fucking crazy on Nights of the Hunt, so we play music to calm him down. And I'm like, oh. Yeah. Alright, I'm gonna be back in a little bit. And it's like, oh, by the way, how do I know where your mom is? And she's like, oh, she went out to look for my dad. You'll know her by this, like, red brooch she has. And I'm like, alright, cool, got it. Go through the gate into, like, not the first, like, story boss of the game, Father Gascoigne. And it's like, okay, this is cool. Go fight him for a bit. Once that's done, look around the arena to pick stuff up. Oh no. Well, I know where your mom was. Emphasis on was.
Yeah.
Because she's dead.
I mean, it's kind of similar, although not as...
Music box
yeah.
also works on Gascoigne. That is her dad.
Similar one that's not as violent is, of course, the Elden Ring, the eyes lady.
The eyes one is
which is
not
more
that bad.
No,
That's kind of gross, but not like.
But it is bad because it's like I'm giving this lady eyes to eat.
Yeah, you can tell her.
Yeah,
It doesn't stop her.
I mean, still not great.
I'm like, in terms of shit I've gone through in that.
Although there
game,
is also there's also the princess one that you run into where her dad, I can't remember the exact storyline there, but I know that one doesn't end well.
Oh, Nepheli's?
Yeah.
Hers is actually fucking great.
Oh.
Yeah. Hers is great. Like, in terms of sad ones, there's for Elden Ring, there's Bach, and then there's Millicent. Millicent is the one that, like, is just like a gut punch.
Yeah.
Because she has the Scarlet Rot. You've played through it. You know what that is.
Yeah.
And you know how you're basically fucked if you catch that. While there are, like, curing items in the game,
that is not one of the things
you can't give them to her.
Yeah.
Fortunately, she has a little needle that keeps it at bay that you can give to her.
Yeah.
You have to go fight a couple of people. And you get her so close because she just wants to, like, see Melania.
Yep.
And that's an entirely optional area. You don't have to do that, but I always do it. She dies at the end of that because she's like, I can't, body won't take any more. And I'm like, damn it, I fought, like, I wish this wasn't how it ended for you, but I'm glad that you were able to get this far.
Yeah. So, I guess we're gonna kind of switch over gears.
Oh, yeah.
We'll switch gears, because now we're just we're doing the thing that we do on this podcast, which is sidetracking. I was trying to think of the other term. Tangent. Yeah, we're doing tangential conversations.
Yeah.
So switching gears, we'll head into news. So the only piece of Star Wars news today actually has to do with video games, and I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
So we talked about Aspire's ports of old Star Wars games onto the Switch before, and also we've talked about how much I prefer physical media over digital. Well, good news for people like me. They are releasing all 7 Star Wars games that have been ported to the Switch to a physical collection called the Heritage Collection. The games that'll be included are The Force Unleashed, Republic Commando, Episode 1 Racer, Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, Knights of the Old Republic, and Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords. Now, of course, we have our opinions about Knights of the Republic 2, The Sith Lords on the Switch. We've talked about that, about how they don't have uh, the restored content on it from the restored content mod, because they were going to do that as as a DLC, but that didn't happen. And we talked about the repercussions that Aspire's facing right now with the lawsuit, because there's a class action lawsuit since it was advertised with the DLC.
Okay.
And then and we spent a year with there was a year with no update on that DLC, and then a year later they were like, "Oh yeah, we've canceled that. We're not doing it."
Okay, that is not as bad as I thought it was.
No,
going to be.
it's just,
I thought you were gonna.
So the lawsuit is just, hey, a bunch of customers going, "Hey, we bought the game specifically with the restored content in mind," and also when they announced that the restored content was happening, all they did was offer the other games for free.
I thought you were gonna tell me something.
No. It's
like, oh, by the way, we've been stabbing children
no,
in the back room.
No, just a regular lawsuit.
Okay, thank God. It's just a money thing.
It's just a money thing, and so customers are kind of upset because they're like, "Hey,
that's fair.
I bought the game specifically with this in mind," and then some people, the person who filed the lawsuit, he bought the game with and didn't start the game. He was like, he's heard how, because a lot of people say don't play it without the restored content because it's a totally different game. And he was like, I'm not even going to touch it until they add the DLC, and they never did, and now they canceled it. So he was like, well, I spent $20 on this, and sure, and they didn't even offer a refund. They just said, here, free games instead. We'll give you a free game. They did offer the PC version of the Sith Lords, but if you're buying it on the Switch, that's probably because you don't have it on PC or you already did, like I do.
Yeah.
So that doesn't give you, I couldn't collect in on the free game offer because I already had every game on the Switch and Knights of the Republic 2 on PC. Because those were the offers, were for any of the other games that were on the Switch or for the PC version of KOTOR 2. And I already had all of that, so it's like I couldn't even collect in on that. So I haven't joined the class action, but I understand where they're coming from. I don't think it's one they'll win, but I understand where the customers are coming from with that. But once again, back to this piece though. Like I said, so you get all 7 games that have been ported to the Switch in one collection. Physical media. I'm excited about that. It's being dropped for $60, which is honestly a really great price for those games collected together, because Knights of the Republic is about 20 to 40 hours on its own. It's not big in RPG standards nowadays, but that's still 40 hours worth of content alone, plus Knights 2, another 40-hour game. And then, of course, you got The Force Unleashed and Republic Commando, which are loved by fans. The Jedi Knight games, loved by fans. Episode 1 Racer, a classic pod racing video game. I'd say all that together is worth $60. Now, if you were selling them individually, I think it's crazy to put them... But, of course, funny enough, it's cheaper than if you bought them on the Nintendo eShop digitally, because they do on the eShop have the collected one where you could get all the games together in a bundle, because that makes sense to sell them in a bundle sometimes. But that is worth $80 if you buy it on the eShop bundle. So you're saving $20 by buying it physically. It'll officially be out on December 8th, according to Target and Best Buy, who I've seen taking pre-orders. So, not too long from now, a couple months. I'll probably add it to my collection even. Yeah, it'll be nice to... I'm kind of concerned that the way they're going to do it is the same way they did LA Noire on the Switch, which is they don't physically have a cartridge. It'll be digital code for each game, I think is what's going to happen, which that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Because I don't like when video games do that, where they're like, here's a physical box with just a bunch of digital codes. And it's like, no, I bought the physical box so I could have physical cartridges. Or they'll do one of the games I have. It's a Hasbro collection where it's a bunch of Hasbro board games, which is they have the cartridge, but only one of them is actually on the cartridge and the rest are digitally. But you have to have the cartridge still to download them.
Yeah.
You don't have a Switch, so I don't know if you have opinions on this, but
Not really.
I mean, I'm just excited because it's physical media.
Like a lot of like you and Haley have Switches, but I don't. I'm like, why would I want this kind of thing, you know? Because in terms of like gaming, I prefer console. Yeah, that's right. That's a bold fucking take.
Yeah. So I think it's just nice for people like me who like physical stuff, because I know a lot.
I like having
because you and me like to be our physical collect. We like to have physical for our media.
Yeah.
And I know, like, because you like to, I mean, you read the books. I do the audiobook thing, but I still like to have a physical book too. And so while my audiobooks are digital, I like to still have the physical book. I also like to have my movies physical. I like to have my comics physical. I'll get digital copies of those things too, just so I have both. So I have the convenience of the digital, but I still have the physical media as well. And I know a lot of people that are like us that prefer physical.
Yeah.
And so
I think I would like this book in a physical format.
And of course, we're in a time where a lot of things are not always provided physically.
Yeah.
Especially movies and TV. Especially as streaming grows, we're getting in a weird space where like where people want physical, but the people making the products don't. Whether it's because of cost of production or because they don't see enough people being interested in the physical. But yeah, that's it for news. It was
basically that.
I mean, just that. I mean, I'm excited. So, but let's get into today's topic. The High Republic Tales of Light and Life, with a bunch of amazing authors. Yeah. We're gonna...
Authors of this book are Zoraida Cordova, Tessa Gratton, Claudia Gray, Justina Ireland, Lydia Kang, George Mann, Daniel Jose Alder, Gavin Scott, and Charles Soule. Most of the High Republic crew is here, as it should be.
Yeah, and they write the stories that I think they should, because a lot of them are very much, these are the characters they started with, and so it's their characters that they're... but we'll talk about that. Here's a spoiler warning for those of y'all coming in on that. So just know we are going to get into a bit in depth with this.
We are.
And so this is a collection of stories that span across the Phase 1 and 2 era of the High Republic, and even starts to give us some answers for things before Phase 3's story. I already know what your favorite story is going to be, but we're going to kind of discuss them all in the order they're presented, as that is the confirmed chronological order. The only story that we won't be discussing is Rogue Element, as that was a Barnes & Noble copy exclusive, because I did a little bit of research as I was writing the script, and I saw a story, I was like, wait a minute, I don't remember reading this one, because it's written by Alyssa Wong, and it focuses on Crash, the character from Midnight Horizon, and she was also in the High Republic Adventures, one of the free comic book days, I think. But I was like, I don't remember reading that one.
Yeah.
And then I double
Data not found.
Or listening to it, and then I looked it up. I clicked on the hyperlink on, because I was on Wikipedia doing my research on it, and my like basic level research, because Wikipedia is only really good for basic level. I was like, wait a minute, I don't remember this. Click the hyperlink, saw it say Barnes & Noble exclusive, and I was like, oh. Because it wasn't even on the audiobook, which, of course, there's no way to get that story for the audiobook. And then the copy we have is just the base copy. So I expect it would be a good story though, because Alyssa Wong, good author. I mean, she's the one that writes the Afro comics, um, and so I wouldn't expect any less. I mean, it makes sense. It's a character based slightly on like DJO
Yeah.
we talked about it. It's the Star Warsification of Alyssa Wong, and so Alyssa's like, okay, my story now, because DJO was the originator of that character. But yeah, um, I'll definitely be looking to read it off the air though. And we can always talk about it in a future episode whenever I get the chance to read it. We just won't like dedicate an episode to it. Um, but let's dive into what we did read.
Yes.
So we start with The Queen's Bloom by Zoraida Cordova, which is about Axel Greylark when he still had a dad. Sorry, I had to make the cruel joke. But it focuses on his time in university. We see the parts of Axel that make sense in later parts of his life, such as him often playing sick and having different tricks to get away with it, which he improves his ability to hide the evidence of faking in Catalyst, because that's something his dad is like, you need to be better at hiding the evidence.
Yeah.
um, we also see more of the idealist that Axel was at that time, because he was a bit more idealistic, I think, at that time, along with him meeting the mother for the first time before she's fully grown to power with the path. Because she's still Alicia at that time and not the mother. Not yet, anyways. It also personally, for me, put Axel in a better light for me to understand him even more than I think even Convergence and Catalyst allowed. Because I personally feel like while Convergence and Catalyst try to explain Axel and they try to make him, like, they try to, I don't want to say excuse his actions. They try to explain his actions, I guess is a better word. Because he does some not great things in those books.
Oh, yeah. You mean, like, letting a lot of shit happen?
Yeah, like, you know, some people die because of things he allows.
Yeah.
He tries to make them right whenever he can, but he doesn't. It's not his immediate first thing to do. Like
he doesn't always succeed.
No, and a lot of the times he also doesn't do it right away. When like there are points where you're like, okay, this is when you can change things, Axel, and then it's like chapters later where Axel's like, you know what, I should have done that, and it's like, yeah. But I think here it kind of you start to understand him even more as a character. I feel like because you see that I think his dad was a major guiding force for him in terms of morality.
Yeah.
More so than his mom.
Yeah, because his mom is off.
Well, even his dad is off because they're both politicians.
Them are off being politicians, but it feels like his dad is the one that kind of makes time for him.
Not that his mom doesn't want to. It's
just that she's a lot more busy.
Yeah, I mean she's not Supreme Chancellor yet,
but it's coming.
And he's not a Supreme Chancellor either. They're both just senators, I believe, is what it said, if I remember correctly. It had been a couple days because I flew through the audiobook. The audiobook is fast.
Yeah.
Especially
you with, what was it, double time speed?
Well, no. I do regular speed. I have friends that do double time. I don't do that double time stuff.
I remember...
Unless I'm, like, really behind. If I'm behind and I'm like, oh, I need to get through this book, then I'll do it. But I'll take my time. And this is one that I started immediately Monday just to listen to it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, Seth is gonna beat me on this for sure because he has the physical copy. But I was actually ahead of you by Tuesday. I was like, wait a minute. He said he only read what was it you read up to?
I just read the first two on Tuesday.
Yeah, so that one, this one, and then Marta one, which we'll talk about next.
For this one, I was like, okay, I've got 5 days.
Yeah,
I can just take it 2 at a time.
And
not that long.
I did like the 7 days stretch. So for the audiobook, it's like 14. It's separated into 14 chapters. This is the only one that's separated by its chapters, like each, because you know, this one has chapters, and so in the audiobook format it actually separated those chapters into different chapters in the audiobook file. But I think there's another one that has chapters, I think, too, later. Or if not, then It's weird that this is the only one that had chapters.
Yeah.
But I mean, if that's, I think it also doesn't matter because if that's the story you have to tell, if it's a story that requires chapters, then it's fine. And I think this
Yeah.
story did.
I do. I do like. I like Axel as a character.
And that's not to say I don't like him as a character. I just would hate him as a person.
Yeah. I'm like, I know what you are. Axel's an idiot trying to do what he thinks is a good idea,
Yeah.
which leads to him making some poor decisions. He's trying his best.
He's also a slacker, but in the like Ferris Bueller sort of way.
He's like, I could do this, but I really don't care.
Where the slacking doesn't make you a bad person, but you're still a slacker.
Yeah.
Because the reason he
like,
faked being sick is just so he could basically he didn't want to go be part of a band concert for like school. Because school was like, you got to play your music for the part, because the premise is that it takes place during this big event on the planet where his university is, which is the Queen's Bloom, which is like this big like natural light phenomenon. And so and usually it's a big celebration around it. And so this is his first time getting to witness that event, I think, or his second time. His first.
It's like his first or his second. He's very new to this planet.
Yeah.
He's like, man, I don't want to fucking do this.
But yeah, his mom and dad also surprise show up, and it's their first time. They make it clear because the story's like, no, this is their first time, and that's why mom is really excited to be there because she wanted to see it. Also, they wanted to surprise their son and be like, hey, we're here to hang out as a family, because once again, showing that while they're senators, they are good parents.
Yeah, they're trying. The Greylark family is actually trying.
They try way more than any like other fictional political family.
Yeah.
Or real political family for that matter. But
oh, spicy take. Politicians don't spend much time with their families.
It's almost like they have very busy jobs or something where they,
Who knew?
Yeah. Where they have to care about millions of people.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they try.
They try. They
the problem
succeed.
Yeah, the problem is Axel is off playing hooky with his not girlfriend.
With his not girlfriend.
And not friend.
And not friend. Who I think eventually becomes his friend.
That's exactly what happens. Cause
after the betrayal.
So they sneak into a party where I wasn't gonna do point by point, but I mean, I think at this point, because we're still good on time.
Yeah.
So they sneak into the party, where Axel claims to be his dad, because apparently his dad's on the list.
They both look very similar,
and so except he's just younger.
Yeah.
I think if I remember correctly, the bouncer was like, "Huh, you're younger than I expected." Like he doesn't say that, but he like comments about it, like, and he's just like, okay. And he's like, your wife's already here. And Axel's like, wait a minute.
Oh, fuck.
Because all he said was his last name. He didn't say his first name. He just says Greylark. And of course, it's assumed, oh, you must be Mr. Greylark, Senator Greylark. And he's just like, oh, wait a minute. And he tries to back out, but his not girlfriend's like, no, we're already here. Let's go.
Let's go.
And we find out that's because it's a setup.
Yep.
Because it turns out the mother, Alicia, at this point, is leading a group of thieves who
to rob people.
Yeah, basically they're gonna rob a bunch of rich people at this party. Which, if you're gonna rob a bunch of rich people, it makes sense. Go to like a big house during a big event party.
I'm like, why?
You got to fund crime somehow.
It's always like mask parties, you know, where I'm like, why?
Because that's where the rich people are.
No, I mean, not why them. I mean, why is it always a mask party? Why would you do this? You would think people would fucking learn.
But yeah, so Axel and not friend, what's his name? We're going to call him not friend until I find his name again. Okay, Laylee is the not girlfriend. Cosmo is the not friend. So Axel and Cosmo get shanghaied into being the thieves. And they basically say, if you don't do the thieving, we'll shoot Laylee.
Yep.
And since both Cosmo and Axel like Laylee, potentially both romantically, they don't
Yeah.
really confirm if Cosmo feels that way, but we know Axel does.
Yeah.
Axel thinks Cosmo does. We don't ever get confirmation on that. Um,
I remember at one point, like, Cosmo's like, look, man, she could fucking convince you to do anything, and you fucking do it, you big idiot.
which is exactly what a friend would say, by the way.
Yeah.
Whereas Axel, the entire book is like, Cosmo sucks. He's not
I
my friend. I fucking hate him.
this ass.
When in reality, Cosmo's here
He's
just
like,
living
I'm
his best
looking
life.
out for you right now.
Cosmo is just a little guy. He's just a little guy. He wants to be best friends with Axel, and he thinks he's best friends with Axel.
And Axel's like,
Axel
I
breaks his
fucking
heart.
hate you.
I hate Axel for that, by the way.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, man. You don't have to like the guy, but you don't have to be a dick about it.
Like, you're not obligated to be his friend, but you also don't have to be a dick.
Yeah. Eventually.
But yeah, so eventually they steal what they need to. They come back, and then Axel decides to pull a let's break free and not give them the money.
Yeah.
And it turns out Betrayal Laylee was actually part of the thieves as well.
Surprise.
Surprise. Surprise, motherfucker.
Yep.
And so they get away, and then Axel goes back to his room where his dad is waiting.
Cosmo was almost killed in this.
Yeah, Cosmo. He is left for dead by Laylee and them, and Alicia is like, I guess I'll see her around sometime, hinting at the fact that she's gonna run into Axel again. Because Axel is, I think Alicia is using her little force techniques that we've confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
She uses it in this during this book
Like,
story because
why the fuck would I want? Axel's like, why would I want to do that?
Because during the events of it, Axel does start to get mesmerized a little bit by her, where he's like, she is very convincing. I don't know why, but she's convincing.
It's like, wait a minute, no, that's stupid.
And
like later on, he's like, God, I don't ever want to see her again.
Sorry, buddy, you're gonna see her a lot more.
You're gonna see her a lot more.
But no, so yeah, him and Cosmo leave once he finds out Cosmo's fine.
Yeah. And Cosmo's like, I need to talk to my dad about a better bulletproof vest.
Oh yeah, because he gets protected because of some.
It's a little gem, I think it.
Yeah. He says we need to make it out of this.
Yeah.
And so Axel comes back to his room and he has the conversation with his dad that we talked about.
Yeah.
Where his dad is already there waiting for him. It's the I'm sitting in your room with the lights off, and then you flick on the light, and there I am moment that you see, and it's that moment.
You want to tell me where you were? Like, nope.
And so, yeah.
It's like, I was young. His dad's like, don't worry, I was young too.
Yeah, basically his punishment is you need to hang out with me and your mom.
Yeah. You also might want to take a shower, son.
You smell of booze, and although not the worst case of it in this book of collections. There's one that's worse at the end. But yeah, so happy ending.
Yeah.
I was partially thinking that we were gonna see Axel's dad die in this story before, like, because we know his dad dies, and we know that Axel blames the Jedi for it. And there's that moment where Axel runs into a Jedi because he like bumps into them.
Yeah.
But nothing comes of that. So I'm just like,
because this is like pre-dad dying, which I think is where a lot of the Jedi hatred came from.
Yeah, the Jedi hatred is from his dad dying, because they mentioned that in at the end of Convergence.
Yeah, they explain like why he's like Oh
for a
no.
second. Uh, I don't know how long we lost it, but the other thing Marta's doing is she's looking for Yana.
Yeah.
Like throughout that,
And she's like, why would she ever want to speak to me again?
But
I
that's
cut off
like,
her hand.
but it's more of the real reason why she's looking for Everany. But the Evereny thing is like also important to her. And of course, it's being narrated by Marta because this is actually her telling the story to her.
I'm like,
I believe her son or daughter.
This is like a pre-recorded message for them, and she's like, "Here's all these things."
And I also took it as Markion is listening to this record. Because I wouldn't be surprised if Markion heard this record. That
wouldn't surprise me either. Like that, this is just the family video where it's like, all right, you're 15 now. Here,
I think maybe the family also just keeps a record of like their history.
Yeah.
Because I would think the Seeker father of whoever Marta.
Yeah.
I think Marta is the mom of Markion's grandmother.
Yeah.
So she has the daughter. Yeah. But they take her name because her name is more important lineage wise.
Yeah.
So I think it makes sense that they would keep a record of these things because the Seeker father probably was like, yeah, we should keep a record anyways.
Yeah.
Even though he was angry at first because Marta killed his sister and then
fucking sister, is that how things are done here?
Well, Marta didn't, but one of her servants did. But
one of her servants did, and then he killed the servant. She's like, all right, fuck this.
Yeah.
It's like, this is how things work here? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and so...
Also,
big bi energy from Marta, by the way. Like, big bi energy.
The Nihil being formed in the background, and Marta being like, I don't fucking care who you recruit.
Yeah, like, because this is the...
Provided, like they're not force
because it's not really
if they are, I'll feed them to the nameless.
Well, I don't even think it's really the Nihil yet, because the Nihil...
It's not.
Because the Nihil...
It will become them.
Well, the Nihil also don't show up until... We know that the Nihil are a separate group. Anyways, outside of the Rose. Because remember, Markion's dad recruits the Nihil separately, because he runs into, what's his name, the big helmet guy. The one that Markion kills like twice, and then... The Tempest Runner guy.
Yeah.
The one that Lorna D kills officially 100%. Panada, yeah. Panada.
Why is it when you tell me like who kills them, my brain goes, I know who you are.
But yeah, Markion's dad recruited Panada, remember?
Yeah.
Who was already in charge of the Nihil. So the Nihil are a separate group entirely that they're just like, we could use you.
Yeah.
Because the reason they join is because they have the jumps, the hyperspace jumps, the paths.
Mm-hmm.
Which we don't get too much info about that, but we know that it's because Yana's hanging out with.
I think so.
Because she picks up young. The who will become the the person that has all the paths. Anyways, that's it for that story, really. Next up, we have Shield of the Jedi by George Mann, which is one of my favorite stories in the collection, as I already love Salandra Show and Rupert Natani. And this story does what I think Phase 1's story did well, which was show the characters that were Padawans at the start of Phase 1 becoming knighted. And we get that story for Rupert here, as well as the lesson that Jedi often need to learn to be protectors, that there's a story on both sides of a conflict. Because that's kind of Rupert's lesson is that you protect all, not just human or whatever life you want to call it. Because the main conflict is creatures attacking a village, or at least they think it is.
It killed one of their guys.
Yeah,
but it's been just
stealing stealing trash that's shiny.
It's both been stealing. It's more along the lines of it's like it stole basically like our power generator, and now we don't have power.
Yeah.
And when we sent people out to go and get it, it fucking killed them.
Yeah. And so But
Basically,
it's
like
mostly trash
it's
that it
just
took though.
metal that
Yeah.
it wants.
Yeah, it just wants the shinies.
Yeah.
Um, and then it turns out that it's been protecting them without them
From
knowing from these giant spider
big
creatures
fucking spiders.
that apparently, like, if that creature wasn't stopping them, they would just overrun that village.
Yeah. Like they'd be fucked.
Um, and of course Rupert learns that, which all within the lesson of like also getting the shield back.
Oh yeah, her trial is go find this shield.
Yeah, because Solandra's like, I hid my shield. Go find it.
Rupert's like, that's it?
That's it. Which, of course,
Are you sure?
it's actually subtext for her to find this village and help them. Which Rupert already figures out by the time she runs into that village, because she's like, there's no way it's just about a shield. And of course she has Keth Sarapath's droid with her, because Solandra took him in. Because Solandra was like, I still feel bad about Keth dying.
Yeah.
It is my fault Keth died. And it's like, no, it's not, Solandra. It's okay.
Yeah, it is your fault. Be sad for a little while and then get over it like everyone else.
It's not Solandra's fault.
I know it's not.
Keth made his choices, but he was a good guy still, but yeah.
Yeah.
He made his choices.
I'm just out here being an ass.
But his droid is with them now.
Yeah.
And so
still speaking in Old Testament.
Well, that's because that's how he's.
That's not his fault though. That's just how he was.
He was programmed.
Made.
It's in his programming.
Piecemeal.
Yeah, and nobody's bothered to change his. I would assume it has to do with the vocal.
Yeah, like
stuff.
That's why.
Like nobody bothers to change it.
It's like, this could be a lot easier if anyone would just switch that part out for him. Guess wouldn't have to deal with his cryptic bullshit.
Although it kind of works out because Rupert and Solandra both kind of get what he's saying, and they're just like, okay. So, yeah, Rupert finds that the shield's already gone because she gets to the village, and one of the villagers is like, "Yeah, it was in that tree over there," and because that
creature came and took it.
Because that Jedi Knight came around and said that she would send another Jedi to help us, and Rupert's like, "Oh, I must be the one that."
Yeah, I see.
She's like, "Oh, Solandra came here and she set me up. Got it. She gave me a job."
Thanks.
But of course, since she's like, I still got to get the shield, so I guess I'm also helping the village at the same time, and so, they learn that the creature. Well, she learns that the creature is actually helping them.
Yeah.
Because they go full mob, and they're like, we're going to go in that cave, and it's beating the beast. We're going to kill the beast. And Rupert's like, no, wait a minute. This creature, like, even before she gets into the cave, she's already kind of put two and two together that the creature's not. Because she's like, it's kind of weird that it only killed one person.
Yeah.
She's like, if it was really...
Why didn't it kill all of them?
And so... And we learn it's because the one person is the one who attacked the creature first.
My assumption was, it wasn't that hungry.
No, it's a case of it was defending itself.
Yeah, but also it's not going to be that hungry since it eats the spiders.
Yeah. But it also eats or absorbs the metal or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Because that's explained as like why it goes after the metal, because it's just like it eats metal. It
eats spiders and metal. I don't know why you would think fighting it is a good idea.
Doesn't that whole mob die?
No, they don't. I think one of them gets like a blaster
bolt to
his arm.
Oh yeah, because Rupert manages to stop them from doing anything stupid.
Stop that.
Because they were gonna die for sure.
Yeah.
But Rupert's like, no, I'm just gonna knock y'all out because y'all are
one of them gets blaster shot in the shoulder, and she's like, get the
fuck out. Yeah, that's right, yeah. Like I said, a lot of these I read like at the beginning of the week versus the only one
took my time.
Yeah, where the other one the only one I read today was the last one.
Yeah.
And then so that's basically it for that one. I really like seeing the lessons and it makes sense. It's because we're once again in the High Republic era, so when Jedi are the most what you expect a Jedi to be.
Yeah.
And so
also this is a good lesson for Rupert, because I will say this, she's a very proactive protagonist. she also does not think things through very often.
Yeah.
So this one was a good one for her. Like, okay, if you get this, then trial complete.
Speaking of like proactive versus, wasn't there something you were gonna say about Axel when we were in the
Oh
truck?
yeah, Axel is a static character.
Yeah.
He doesn't change, but the circumstances around him change.
Yeah. So, yeah, because you were gonna mention that in the truck, and I was like, oh, we'll probably have this
Yeah.
conversation on the podcast. So I was like, wait a minute, there's something he was gonna say, and then when you said that, I was like, oh, we need to go back. But moving on though, we then get The Lonely Traveler's Home
Yes.
by Daniel Jose Older DJO, which gives us our first Phase 1 story, where we have Ram Jammer Ram trying to cheer up Zine Morala. But I quickly predicted that he was absolutely projecting his feelings onto Zine for his own homesickness. Like,
Yeah.
I like when he was like, oh, she's obviously homesick, and like there's no signs of that on Zine. Like, I think she's upset more.
I think it's Crix and also I think Lula are gone.
Well, but this
Crix is an asshole and Lula's
well, this is before
missing.
this is before she's missing, I think, because
No, because
I
Lula's not there.
but this is the way I read it was that it was, and like the timeline when I looked, because it takes place before Starlight Beacon falls, but it's after the Takodana battle. So it's before the Midnight Horizon events and all that.
Oh, this is when they're not talking to each other.
And so
And also Crix is being an asshole in
Yeah.
containment.
yeah. So this is before Midnight Horizon stuff, but after Takodana. And we know it's after Takodana because we have oh, I forget our sweet boy's name.
Court?
Court.
Orzala?
Yeah, Court. So Court no longer has his mask at this point. So it has, and they mentioned that it was during the Battle of Takodana that. So, and I like Court in this where he's doing
doing impressions.
He's like and it's even better in the audiobook because you can hear it and you're like, yep. It's just like, that's Elzar, all right. And that's also why you have to know it's before Starlight Beacon, because it would be kind of cruel that they do a Stellan Geos impression after Stellan dies. That would be so fucked. Also, because at the time we know that post destruction of Starlight, Torben's missing.
Yeah.
I don't think he's dead, but he's not actively with the party.
He's another one of those MIA at the moment.
Yeah, because remember we had because in Shadow, in what was it, the in Trail of Shadows we see him
give his clothes.
Yeah,
and then
in the this year's Free Comic Book Day we see him again still alive after that encounter with the Nameless. So we know he survived that.
Yeah,
but we don't know if he got everybody back to that was still on Starlight back to the ship again.
Yeah,
because we don't follow him. We follow Lula and Crix.
Yeah. He's one of the ones that's also missing.
Yeah. We know Court's alive 100% because and Farzala because they're knighted. Because we get their knighting, and then we know that they leave with the Jedi investigator in Trail of Shadows.
Yeah. Emmerich.
Yeah, Emmerich. So we know they're alive.
Yeah.
But Lula, Crix, and Torben are MIA.
Yep.
So that's why this has to take place before that, because Torben appears in this, and they're making jokes about Stellan. so it's it's like during phase 1.
Yeah, and also that this story happens on Starlight Beacon.
Is it on Starlight?
It is on Starlight Beacon.
Okay. I thought it was in the Jedi Academy ship that Okay. Because I know they had their little Jedi Academy ship that they were traveling in.
Have it, but they're not on it. This is one of the ones where they're on Starlight.
Oh yeah, because that's where that's when they're hanging out with Ram the most is on Starlight. Because Ram is like the most. This would be probably around the same time as maybe the Galactic Bake Off and the race on across Starlight.
Yeah, that's about when I imagine this happens.
which means once again Lula's around, she's just not really interacting with them as much.
Yeah.
Um, but that's really all that I got for this
Basically,
one.
I was
It's
like,
it's very much a story of it's probably one of the happier stories.
yeah. I was like, did you fucking forget your own birthday, Ramjo Maria?
Well,
Which is what I was thinking. I'm like, which is basically the same, because it hits the same like narrative plot beats as an episode like that.
yeah, but no, this is he is projecting his own feelings on his friend
Like,
when
she is going through stuff.
Yeah.
It's just not the same problem.
no, and the moment for me when I was just like, Ram, you're projecting, is when he's like, when he says you're used to this, so that's why it's got to suck the most, and it's like, no, that's the wrong logic. It's the opposite. It's when you would not be used to it when it would suck the most, which is what you are in. You idiot. Because at the beginning of that story, he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, you're used to this type of stuff because you're not a Jedi," and I'm like, "No, it's the other way. You would be more upset because you're not used to it. Because usually a big change is what would make that type of thing more upsetting. But if you're used to change, then you're not gonna be as affected by it. You'll still be affected because we know Zine is, because Zine admits so.
Yeah.
But but it would be more hitting in Ram's case, which is why I was like, he's projecting. And then of course we get what I didn't predict was that they were secretly setting up something for him.
Yeah.
Like, so that's the
like-
part I didn't predict. But
I'm like, they're
But it makes
setting shit
sense.
up
But it
right
makes
now.
sense. It makes sense, especially when Torben's like, we got a big meeting coming up.
He's like, no, I can't put the espionage training off.
Yeah. And so, but I
It was
like,
good.
yeah.
It's so much nicer than some of.
I mean, most of these have pretty good,
Yeah.
like happier endings, but they're not like this is probably the happiest book in Phase 2-ish. I guess this is
Yeah.
Phase 2-ish, Phase 2.5. And so then we get After the Fall by Claudia Gray. One of my other favorite stories, as we get to see the vessel crew again, who I might have missed more than some of the Jedi characters of Phase 1.
Yeah, no.
And we see the aftermath of Affy Hollow bringing down the Bind Guild. Something that was
As a matter of fact, fuck you.
Which, this is something that we discussed slightly in some of the stories after Into the Dark, but it wasn't really delved into as much as I thought it would be. So we get that, we really get that aftermath here. This is also our first post-Phase 1 story.
Yeah.
As it's confirmed with them mentioning Affy thinking Leox had died when he pulled the parachute stunt. Which, by the way, me too, Affy, me too.
Me over here. Yeah, right. They're gonna fucking kill him.
It's Claudia Gray, though.
The thing is, with me, I will call bluffs all the time. Doesn't matter if I'm right, but I'll call it anyway.
But and of course, because she's hugging Leox all the time, and
like, oh, thank God you're not dead.
And he's just like, yeah, you've been doing this for like a week now. Because I think they say it would spend like a week, and so and
I'm so glad you're not dead.
We also get the reappearance of my other favorite non-Jedi characters in Phase 1, the Adrons.
Yeah.
So,
woo.
So overall, this is just a interesting story of like the smuggler end of like the aftermath of Starlight being destroyed.
Because that was like a major trade point.
And also, the Bind Guild being because they were a major trade operation.
Yeah.
So
a lot of people
they're out of jobs. Out of places to pit stop if they're going into the Outer Rim. And now, in fact, can't even go into the Outer Rim because they bring up the whole the
occlusion zone.
The occlusion zone.
Storm wall, depending on how rad you want to fucking be with names.
The mining operation.
So do you want to go to the occlusion zone or places you can't go? Like, which one? Obvious name. Who named what is pretty obvious here.
But yeah, I mean the occlusion zone is still it's the same place. It's you go into a spot where you're not supposed to, boom,
you die.
Because they've just placed mines, space mines, I guess, on the locations where the hyperspace gates, like where you exit hyperspace. Because once again,
because they can do that.
because once again, hyperspace is basically a highway interstate.
Yeah.
You get off and on at certain points, and where you get off, I mean, things could go bad depending on. And so, yeah, they talk about the difficulty of that and how there's also people on the other side who want to leave but can't for the same reason because they can't get to the hyperspace points where they're able to leave from. Well, you don't get on. Getting on is not as hard, but it's still like difficult because you still have to chart directions a certain way. Otherwise, you run into a sun or a planet.
Yeah.
And in this case, the directions they would have to write down would have them run through the occlusion mines.
Yeah.
And
that's not a fucking good idea.
So they can't even leave either. So it's you're stuck on whichever side of the wall that you're on. It's almost a Berlin Wall situation to put real world politics into it.
The Iron Curtain.
Yeah. It's the Nihil Curtain.
The Nihil.
But yeah, so I think it addresses a lot of things that are important at this point that we wouldn't, I don't think, get addressed otherwise. Like, because we wouldn't see the smuggler. I don't think I don't think the comics and the novels that are going to come out for Phase 3 are going to focus on that.
On like the
I think we'll get
smuggling.
I think we'll get mentions of it because I think, we're going to get the vessel crew obviously as main characters, but it's not going to be a main focal point of the story. So, it's nice to kind of acknowledge that that's a thing.
Yeah.
And that also means trade is bad.
Yeah.
And then
so Affy is like, you know what, this is bullshit. How about I make my own?
And then, of course,
without all the indentured servitude.
Yeah, and so she kind of convinces ex-members of the Bind Guild to join an alliance, essentially. An alliance of smugglers where they're like, hey, your problem might be with me for getting rid of the Bind Guild because my adoptive mother was a bitch who killed my parents and also had indentured servants. But our real enemy is the Nihil, who are preventing you from continuing your job post the Bind Guild being destroyed.
Yep.
And so
that's one of the bigger problems going on right now.
And so everybody kind of shrugs and is like, yeah, you're right. And so they aren't happy about working with Affy, but they'll do it
because no one wants to go hungry.
Yeah. And so it's the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah.
And so I like the story for that reason as well. The Force Provides by Justina Ireland, though, follows Vernestra Rowe after the destruction of Starlight Beacon. So once again, we just continue with the post Starlight Beacon destruction. Yep. And we start to go through her feelings of lost and sort of survivor's guilt, in my opinion.
She's like, God
damn it. And we kind of see her feelings.
Dead.
Yeah.
My apprentice is who knows wherever.
Yeah, because she lost both Stellan and she believes Emery is dead. So she's lost both her mentor and apprentice.
Yeah. God damn.
All within the same 24-hour span.
She's asking the question, do I even want to
be a Jedi?
Be a Jedi anymore?
Which is stunning to think about for Vernestra, but
not really.
Well, because Vernestra's never questioned it. Vernestra is one of the few Jedi.
This is one of the few things that would make someone question.
No, I think it makes sense. Story to the line where it's going, but it's shocking because Vernestra has never questioned it before. Whereas we've had characters in the High Republic era question it.
Like, her question has more always been like, am I doing good enough?
Yeah, hers is what's it called?
It's got a little bit of perfectionism in her.
Well, I'm trying to think of the term. It's what? Something burnout. It's gifted burnout. She's because you know how like in the real world you have those kids that are really good in school early on, and then like as they get older, like they go to college and they kind of burn out at that point. Which I was one of those. But well, I burn out closer to high school, but yeah. But yeah, she has gifted burnout because she is the youngest. Because what, she's 18? She's 18 at this point?
I don't even think she's 18. I think she's...
Because I think she's 16 at the start of Phase 1. And
and then
2 years past.
Gap, then she would be...
So I think she's 18 at this point, which is still really young. Because she was knighted at 16, and then she already had an apprentice around that time because Emery
Yeah.
she takes in. So by 18, she has an apprentice that she's been training for 2 years, and then he's possibly dead.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this in the truck. She also still never revealed the light whip to Stellan, which was a big conflict for her, because that goes into the am I good enough as a Jedi? Because I have this weapon that's potentially related to the dark side that I like to use, and she wanted essentially Dad's approval.
Yeah.
But now she'll never get that.
I was thinking that, like, I remember the whole light whip plot point. I'm like, you know,
Which, of course, I think. I mean, I'll let you say what you're gonna say first.
I'm like, it doesn't matter as long as it does what you need it to do.
Well, I'm gonna say
Like, I understand why as like a spiritual
Yeah.
kind of thing that she wants to make sure, but I'm also like, at the end of the day, it's still yours. Do what you want with it, kind of thing. And I thought she had got past this. Like, as a character, I was like,
But we
thought you made
yeah.
peace with this shit.
Like, she doesn't make it a big deal in this story, but it is overtly referenced.
Yeah.
I personally see it as a thing of, I think spiritually she's fine. In reality,
Yeah.
obviously in her head she's not, but I think in reality it's fine because the only reason she built it is because she opened herself to the Force, and the Force said, "Hey, build this."
And it's
Whereas the dark,
more useful than
whereas I think if it was a dark side thing, it would be because she forced that to be how she. Because the dark side is very much a twisting of the Force. It's always I force my interpretation of the Force to be this, but she doesn't do that. She says I opened up and the Force told me to build this.
Like I'm like, Vernestra, you have other problems right now.
Yeah. So
that are far more serious.
So this is probably the most depressing of the stories in this collection.
Oh yeah. God, the poor man in this one. Like his wife sold him out like to the corporations.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then tried to kill his mom.
But
not necessarily in that order.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, in that order.
So we now though get to what I know is your favorite story. All Jedi Walk Their Own Path by Charles Soule. I'll just let you take the reins on this discussion.
I am so happy that he's back and that Belle finally got some fucking closure.
So context, Buryaga's back.
Buryaga is back, baby.
I like that we get more Loden in this story.
Yeah, where Loden. I love the interact. I love Loden's like teaching style of. It's almost
he's the gruff teacher. He's like, we're gonna learn things the hard way. I'm nice to you, but we're gonna do things more like you're gonna learn these lessons.
You're going to sink or you're going to swim. Damn it!
And I'll save you if
you're not gonna be in real danger.
Yeah,
but you're gonna think you are.
Yeah, like if you're about to die, yes, I'll intervene. But until that point. Nah.
Our introduction to this man was throwing his apprentice off a cliff.
No, out of a ship.
I forgot about it.
Out of a ship.
Hey, yeah, catch yourself.
Because like not quite atmosphere, but just under atmosphere. He was like.
I mean, that is how. Like, I forget if I've told this story on the podcast. I know I've told it to you.
Well, that was your introduction to the High Republic.
No, I mean how my dad taught me to swim.
Oh, yeah. I think you've told me, but not the podcast.
So my dad...
Maybe you did when we talked about...
Maybe.
Because we've talked a lot. It's also been almost 2 years since we talked about the very first book, Light of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So, it might have been brought up during Light of the Jedi, but...
Yeah. My dad... So, we live out by the Gulf. Dad, one day while we're on the beach, Dad he grabs me, and he drags me out, like, to where if I don't swim, I will drown.
Mm-hmm.
And he, like, let's go. And I'm like, I fucking figured it out, and I swim back to shore. And I lay down, and after a while, my mom comes up and is like, "Hey, do you like a good 20 to 30 minutes? Hey, do you want to go and get back in the water?" No. Why would I want to do that?
But do you like swimming now?
Uh, it's okay. Like I know how to do it. I've gotten better.
See, I love swimming, so like I can't relate. But
Like
I
I
also
don't
wasn't tossed into.
I don't mind it, and the reason why I had such like a problem with it for a long time is
Well, I mean, I would figure that would create some trauma.
no, trauma existed before this.
Oh.
In When I was young, we went to like Orlando, Florida to go to Universal Studios and ride the rides.
Mhm.
Did that for like a week.
Mm.
On the trip there, we stopped at a hotel that had a pool. And me, being like 6 or 7, didn't understand the concept of a deep end and a shallow end.
Oh no.
So me thinking, oh, it's not that deep. I can just walk across to the other side. Oh, fuck, I can't.
Did you slip? Like, because there's like that. Because
No.
it's always, because especially at hotel pools, it's always like a sudden dip, and it's always like a slip, like
Yeah.
a slippery slope type sudden dip.
Yeah.
Like you put one foot down, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, and then I went like way further than I should have. And my granddad, he actually came and he got me and he put me on the side, and I was like, fuck this, I don't want to do this ever again. So pro tip, drowning doesn't feel good.
But yeah,
I got over, like, I know how to swim
Yeah,
now
yeah.
because fuck, I don't want that shit to happen again.
yeah. But yeah, but yeah, I like seeing our boy Loden, and
Yeah.
I think it fits narratively to have him here because the whole point is that Bell is trying to, what's the word I'm looking for?
Reconcile.
Yeah, reconcile. He's trying to reconcile the loss of Loden.
Yeah.
While
Because
also
he remembers he's facing almost the exact same situation again, where he's like,
it is the exact same situation because the whole point of the Buryaga thing is that he lost Loden twice.
yeah.
Because he
lost the first time.
The first time
because he was like, okay,
he went missing, and everybody said no, he's gone.
Yeah.
Except he tried to be like, no, he's not gone, and eventually he accepted it.
Yeah.
And then Loden
And they found him
appeared again
and then
only
he
to die.
died.
And so with the Buryaga situation, this time he's like, no, I'm not going to listen to everybody who's telling me Buryaga's gone. Because I dealt with that already.
I did that before, and it was a mistake, so I'm not doing that.
And so I think...
And also, like, him getting along with the locals and learning things.
Yeah, which is a lesson that Loden passed on to him of, like, sometimes you'll do trading with the locals because we don't have the money they want. Or they also perceive Jedi differently because...
Yeah.
To a lot of like regular citizens of the galaxy, Jedi are like gods essentially.
Yeah.
And
they're either gods or they are a horrifying monster.
Because danger follows them.
Yeah.
And so, in the case of the Aranai people, or Irem, the Iremi, it's Irem. The Iremi people, he's a danger.
Yeah.
Because they're like, yeah, you guys hung out here and brought your space station
You
only for it to
killed
crash.
all of us.
Yeah. Like, you guys brought your space station over to us and
like,
then dropped
he's
it.
talking with a city official and he's trying to explain, maybe don't wear your Jedi robes.
And don't have your lightsaber hanging out.
Yeah. And going and explaining to him, like, it doesn't matter the truth of the situation.
Yeah, it's perception.
Yeah.
It's all
and
about
public
optics.
perception is very bad against Jedi right now.
It's all optics.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help that, Markion's message to the galaxy on top of that.
If you help Jedi, will fucking kill you.
So, like, and so, whilst there are people who will want to help the Jedi, they publicly can't. They publicly can't, or they just won't. And that's the government official stance. Is he's like, I would like to help you, but I can't. Because I'm a government official, and it would be bad optics for me to help you in this moment when my people are not.
Things of like, I can't help you, but I also can't make you go away.
Yeah. And so,
So if you need help, you might need to ask around. I'm not saying that you couldn't
yeah,
or you should.
and
You
it,
should do what you think you need to do.
I think it
It's
also
very much like,
I think we also start to see this disconnect of Jedi and the galaxy at
yeah,
large, because when the official is trying to explain the whole don't wear Jedi things, at first Bell thinks, "Oh, is it because I look sloppy and I need better
yeah,
clothes?" And he's like, "No, no, no, no. You could be wearing rags, and I wouldn't mind helping you. It's the Jedi robes specifically."
yeah,
And like that's a disconnect, I think, that shows like the Jedi don't understand public optics.
yeah,
And so I think even the ones that are more down to earth, like
yeah.
Bell is more down to earth than a lot of Jedi that we've seen throughout the entire franchise. But even he's a little bit naive because of how he was raised within the
Yeah.
Jedi Order. And so, yeah, he goes on to help these fishermen. And
Also,
it's
he's
funny
lost
that
like.
yeah.
Also, he's lost like 2 masters as well.
Yeah, because, yeah.
And I'm like, if there was one person who's like never giving up on people being alive again, it's fucking Bell.
Yeah.
He is so done with hearing people are dead until he sees it for himself.
I'm trying to remember, was she officially dead or
Indira Stokes, yeah, she
yeah.
she bit it pretty hard.
That's what yeah, it's been a minute.
She got like fucked up by the Nameless.
That's right.
That's two masters by the Nameless.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think it's funny the fisherman interaction where he's like, "I've never fished before, but I will do my hardest to help y'all." And
Yeah.
they're like, "Okay, sure. We need an extra hand.
They
Why not?"
kind of like have like a group huddle moment, and they're like, "Do we? Okay, yeah, sure."
Sure, why not? An extra hand won't hurt. And he's also not asking for money, so
Yeah,
which they have to tell him the term. They're like, "No, the term you're looking for is this for like when you just want room and board."
yeah. And so they go. It's like after like
Once again showing that disconnect of like just not knowing the wider world.
yeah.
But yeah, they eventually find Buryaga stranded on like
Yeah.
this island essentially.
It's like go deal with fucking Charybdis, and you'll get your friend back. And it's like, all right.
Because it turns out he's like stranded on this island, and poor Buryaga's lost weight because he
Yeah.
hasn't had food in forever, and
Yeah, he's also like kind of
he's all wet
like,
and everything.
He's wet, and he's had to like basically in order to be like, hey, I'm still alive. He's like ripped off bits of his fur and tied them to sticks and sent them out.
I am curious.
Which
I'm curious,
imagine
but I
fucking hurt.
yeah, I'm curious, but I don't want the answer.
Mm.
Wet Wookiee has to smell worse than wet dog,
Probably, yeah.
because Wookiees don't bathe
Yeah.
traditionally. You don't groom a Wookiee. But yeah, so we get our happy the boys reuniting.
I'm uncertain as to how they'll leave, but hey,
They're reunited, which is that's a
Yeah.
start. Also, we're getting a year jump.
yeah, I imagine they'll get out.
Because I think I remember they said that it's a year jump between phase 1 and phase 3.
Yeah.
So we're getting a time jump.
Also, we see Elzar, and he makes a brief appearance in this story, and he is not there.
Well, because he's going through it still.
He's gone. He's like, man,
Because
I got my best friend killed. Fuck.
yeah,
And I've been tapping into the hate juice a little too much.
him and Avar gonna have a serious conversation because Avar also had her moment.
Yeah.
Which was surprising to see Avar have that moment, but then she had that moment, and then it was Kiev, which, speaking of, our next story, Light in the Darkness by Kevin Scott, follows a woman named Mira, and we get her perspective on the Jedi post-destruction of the Starlight Beacon, and see our favorite Phase 1 comic characters, with Kiev and Sarah and Tarek.
I like Cube. I don't like the twins. We've been over this.
Just because they're a little bit shining creepy. Is it because of that? Is it because they kind of have the shining creepiness factor?
A little bit.
They're good people.
I know. It's one of those things where I'm like, that I don't like you're not bad, but you creep me out a little bit.
But yeah, so they're trying to help this village,
Yeah.
who have lost faith in the
Also,
Jedi.
I'm glad they recovered because, like, I remember
Yeah, it was
Tarek and
bad.
Zarek being really fucked up.
Although now one of them has like a
They
voice
both
mod.
have cybernetics.
Yeah, they have cybernetics now because they physically require them.
Yeah.
Um,
One of the like, we've gone over this.
I think there was a point where because we had a dead like we were trying to calculate how many people had died to the nameless, and I
Yeah.
think there was a point where we said one of them had died.
Yeah.
But now,
I'm glad they're okay.
yeah,
Like, as creepy as they are, I don't want them to die.
yeah, and Skier gets a mention, I
I
think.
think Skier is mentioned. But
I know he's mentioned in the other. He's mentioned
Yeah.
a few stories back. He's mentioned in the Ram one because that's one of the
Impressions.
That's one of the impressions that Court
Yeah.
does. But I think
Since
he's
this
mentioned here as well because
Yeah, since this is after the fall, I think they're like, oh, Skier's done. He's retired.
yeah, he's retired because
he
because
basically-
Mira brings up your master, like something about your master, and Keeve kind of has like this like yeah
Yeah,
he's no longer
he's going
with
through Trandoshan,
well, she doesn't say that, but she's like he's no longer with me because she mentions like don't Jedi normally have their masters with them, and she's like, well, I'm no longer need him, but also he's not around anymore.
like he's gone off.
Yeah, like she's like he's alive, he's just not around.
Yeah.
Because Mira's like, is he dead? And she's like, no, just not around.
No, he's in like the sad part of being a Trandoshan.
But she doesn't mention all that because
No, she doesn't, but we know.
we know. Because obviously you don't bring that up to a stranger.
Yeah.
You're just that's trauma dumping right there. But
I
yeah,
have some stories about that and like why seeing Skier like that fucked with me real bad.
but yeah, this is a story of like a village who's lost faith in the Jedi,
Yeah, and they're like,
and for good reason because they were like they weren't there when we needed them the most.
yeah.
But that also isn't fair to the Jedi.
Yeah, it's not their fault that they weren't there. It's just, here is the truth of the matter. The Jedi weren't here when we needed them, and we still kind of need them, and things are not getting better.
And the only one really holding out faith is Mira.
Yeah.
Because like she's passed on the traditions her grandfather like in the stories of Jedi that he taught her, and she holds on to those pretty oh no her father or is it her grandfather or father
It's her dad.
her dad okay
Yeah, she like is also.
where her brother is just like no you still believe that junk
Why do you believe in that? That shit didn't help our dad when they came and dragged him out into the streets and killed him.
yeah
did it?
because they're dealing with huts
Yeah.
which Keeve is very familiar with so
Yeah.
they deal with them pretty quickly actually
She's like, I'll give up.
because
Give up, or I will, or I'll make sure you're.
because
boss.
Mira's brother basically starts a mob.
Yeah.
Second time we have a mob in this book, by the way. But her brother starts a mob, and they're like, "We're gonna deal with the huts ourselves."
Actually, quick correction, not what happened.
Well, aren't they gonna deal with the huts themselves?
He's trying to, but it's like, no, we're not doing that.
Oh,
man.
okay.
And like, she's like, don't worry, we can wait for the Jedi to help. To which her brother responds, we have to handle it ourselves.
I thought they started to handle it themselves, and then Keeve saves them because things went sideways.
Because they stole food,
Oh yeah,
and then
yeah.
the Hutts are like, oh, we figured that out because someone beat a protocol droid to death with
Well,
a stick.
that is solving things themselves. They're not killing the huts though,
Yeah.
but they're
But they're like, all right, this isn't exactly going to help in the long term. And by the time that they're kind of considering it, it's, oh shit, they're here and they're already
yeah. So
getting rid of people.
yeah, the huts show up to kind of like kill people for stealing the food.
Yep. How
And-
dare you?
It's a show of power.
Yeah.
And thankfully, Keeve, Sarah, and Tarek show up kind of in time.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like them sending Rancors to destroy this little village. I'm like, why, man? That is the most like overkill thing.
huts.
I'm like, that's overkill. I understand you have to teach them a lesson because you're a hut, but also like Rancors, really? Not one, two.
But yeah, they managed to save them, and then they actually thank the villagers because they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, you guys did your part. You guys, if you guys weren't holding them off and getting the food that you needed in the meantime until we could arrive. Who knows what would have happened?
Yeah,
And
you
so,
might have died.
which of course shows once again the High Republic era Jedi thinking versus later
Yeah.
Jedi thinking, where they're like, yeah, you didn't 100% need us, but we helped you when we could.
Yeah.
And so
We've been dealing with a lot of other shit going sideways.
So Mira kind of learns a balance of life where she's just like, okay, we can't count on the Jedi.
You can't like rely on them exclusively. You have to do some things on your own.
Which is something I think the High Republic is started off not doing, and then
Yeah.
as we've gone along, we're starting to see where the prequel line of thinking is going to hit the Republic,
Yeah.
where the Republic's like,
Well, remember I was explaining like eventually because of like the Republic Fair and Valo and how that all went down. I'm like, eventually that's going to cause more problems since you're closely aligned with the Republic, but and slowly becoming more integrated.
where the Republic
Instead of
actually
separated.
where the Republic relies on them.
Yeah.
Like by prequel era, the Jedi are police, peacekeepers, negotiators, diplomats, all those things by the prequel era.
Yep.
For a government body. Where here they're, well, in the start of the High Republic, they do the peacekeeping and negotiating,
Yeah.
but they're not. But they usually represent both sides. They don't.
Yeah.
They aren't, because like they're also looking out on the Outer Rim's interest, whether the Outer Rim thinks so or not. Because once again, Star Wars is all about how everybody wants the Outer Rim.
Everyone wants the Outer Rim, and how the Outer Rim is kind of like, we kind of don't want you here.
Because it's once again that's the Western tropes of
Yeah,
Star Wars.
it's
Though
like-
the Outer Rim is the Wild West, and the Republic is kind of the U.S. government trying to
Yeah,
take over the last
like-
bits of the Wild West.
No, we don't want it.
And so, because like similar to like Red Dead Redemption, like the first game, it's the end of the Wild West, and we're starting to see the approach of the end of the Wild West. But then by the prequels, we still haven't hit the end of the Wild West because the
Yeah.
Outer Rim is still kind of its own territory because of the Hutts, but not completely. And then by the Empire, the Outer Rim's been conquered, and so the Wild West is
Yeah.
the Wild West has been won.
Hmm.
It is no longer wild.
Yeah, indeed.
And then it's a fight back against that
Yeah.
because like people like Han Solo and the Hutts are still kind of against
Yeah.
that interference.
It. I was going to say it switches more into like a law versus crime thing as opposed to like a geographical dispute.
Yeah. And it becomes sometimes the criminal enterprises are not the bad guys,
Yeah,
depending on what their motives are,
depending on how things look.
how they operate, and
play.
motives.
Yeah.
Lastly, though,
Yes.
The Call of Coruscant by Lydia Kang introduced us to brand new characters that, well, when I wrote this, I thought they were going to be getting more in Phase 3 of, and then I looked it up after, and I am correct. But their names are Mirrorlocks and his apprentice, Amadeo Izazo,
Yeah.
which Amadeo has already appeared in the first issue of the new Phase 3 comic that's out right now. So, I haven't read it yet, but I happened to see that, he's already appeared, so that confirmed my assumption.
Suspicions.
And so we see the end of Phase 1 again and witness them get the call to return to Coruscant.
Yeah. Hey, we need all big Jedi meeting.
Yeah.
Come
So
home.
so the Jedi can regroup and have
Family meeting for
and
the Jedi.
this is after that Miro and Amadeo complete a mission. So we get a chapter that's them doing well, it's not a chapter,
Not a chapter, a segment.
segment that's them doing a mission, and then they get the call. Time to go back, and we follow Amadeo from there as he witnesses the experiences Coruscant for the first time. Because Miro's like, yeah, I haven't been here in like
Since
years.
I was like a youngling.
And Amadeo's like, I haven't been here at all, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, cool. Time for you to look at everything. And Miro's like, but also be careful.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Amadeo's like, nah, I'm gonna experience nightlife, Coruscant.
Like. Oh yeah.
Goes to a club, finds a girlfriend who
Yay.
gets into a scuffle.
Yeah. Who doesn't? Who doesn't go to Coruscant and go for it? Like you went to a
The ending.
the ending is you went to a club.
So
Like
Miro. So the next morning, after all this wild partying, and Amadeo potentially hanging out with this friend that he
Yeah.
meets, who's this girl that seems to be romantically interested in
Yeah.
him, but he hasn't really reciprocated that.
ah,
He's like, she's nice, but he's not like interested in her that way.
yeah.
I think that has more to do with the fact that he doesn't know like what's
Yeah.
like this is new to him, so he's just like
I don't know, new planet, probably just a different kind of way of looking at things.
he's like different culture.
Yeah.
And so the next morning we follow Miro, who's like has no idea where his apprentice went,
It's like, all right. Has
And he's-
anyone seen my apprentice?
and
around?
he assumes that he went out late, he'll be
Yeah.
back, and so he goes to the war room meeting where they give him his first
Yeah.
mission. And they say, today, you gotta leave today. Which
Mm-hmm.
Miro did tell Amadeo, we might leave today.
Yeah.
And so,
So be
ready.
ready.
Miro's lied to one of his other friends who's like, hey, where's your apprentice? He's like, oh, he's still sleeping. I didn't want to bug him.
Yeah.
And so,
I love.
I
I
thought,
also kind of like how Miro talks with another one of the Jedi, Maya, who teaches the medical corps,
mm-hmm.
and like they go and they discuss like, hey, how are you doing? How have things been? And he's also like, oh, the rising trio. Where the fuck is one of them? Because the other two, I sense two, but I don't know where the other one is.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, they basically went in the same kind of class.
Yeah, because he learns about Stellan
And
dying
he's
that
like,
way.
ah, fuck.
Because Stellan and Elzar and Avar were like the bright star.
Yeah.
Well, Stellan and Avar. Elzar was the friend they dragged around and kind of helped get to where he is now. Elzar is the.
I think the way to see it is that like Avar is the emotional center. Stellan is like directive and purpose. And Elzar is the insanity that drives things forward.
Yeah, I mean, Elzar though, like
Elzar
the
is
reason
described by Avar back in
I mean,
as like
we know he's gifted.
you're incredibly gifted. The way that you like look at the Force expounds what we can do with it.
Mm-hmm.
However, sometimes it's fucking wild.
And it's scary
Yeah.
because of that. And I think also like that's part of the reason why the Jedi Council was kind of hesitant about Elzar. The other thing we learned is that he has a bit of a Qui-Gon tendency to talk back to the council.
Yeah, sometimes they need to be talked back to.
And that's the other reason why he wasn't knighted as quickly as them. And so like they were like, we don't really want to make him a master either. And then like by the end of Light, they're like, okay, we kind of have to.
Yeah.
Because at this point he's a hero, and if we don't, we look bad. And it's the early politics of Jedi that like we start to see the politics of the council. And so
Elzar, I'm out here putting in work. What the fuck are you all doing?
yeah. And so that's the other reason. Whereas Stellan kind of follows the party line,
Yeah.
so to speak. Which is why like he rises in the Jedi Council
Stellan
so
is
quickly.
in charge of so much like organizational shit that it's like we understand why you would go through with this, and he's like, man, I think
I put it as so Stellan follows the party line to a T, in general, publicly and privately. Avar follows the party line publicly, but privately she's like, eh. And then Elzar just publicly is like, fuck the party line.
I don't care.
And that's why, like, Stellan and Avar rose so quickly, because publicly, at least, for Avar, they followed the party line. Stellan always does, but Avar publicly at least did. And then because Elzar was like, fuck that, that party was like, we don't really want you to rise in rank, because
like,
it would set a poor example if we let you be a master.
It's like, I don't give a shit. I got things to do.
And then I think the flip happens when we start to see Avar publicly decry the party line.
Yeah.
Which is why Stellan and Avar start to clash. Because Stellan, once again, no matter what, privately or publicly, he follows the party line. Whereas once Avar made that flip, where she was publicly decrying it, that's when conflict happened to arise. And I think it's also what kind of drove Avar to almost make the mistake that she almost made with the Lorna D situation until Keeve stopped her.
Oh yeah, when she was like,
she was gonna kill Lorna.
Yeah, I don't give a shit whether or not she was going to kill Lorna D.
But she was gonna. The reason why it's bad is she was given into the.
I don't fucking care. That's not why I was pissed off at her at that moment.
Well, it was also hypocritical
it's
as
not
well.
that either. Do you remember what else is going on then?
Well, I was gonna say it's hypocritical because of the Skier conversation.
That, but also Skier pointing out like, hey, almost all of our crew are banged up and hurt pretty bad. We need to pull out. I'm like, I'm kind of disappointed in your leadership. I thought you cared about all your apprentices.
Yeah. But
that's why I was pissed off.
But the real reason Keeve stopped her was to prevent her from going down the same path that Skier had not on purpose gone down. But, because that's why Keeve interferes. Because Keeve's like, hey, you're doing the exact same shit you told me to keep an eye on Skier of.
Yeah, so would you fucking cool it?
And so that's why I kind of decry Avar a little bit, because she was hypocritical in that moment. And while it's because she was giving into a lot of emotions that lead to the dark side, that doesn't excuse her actions, that just explains them. And so, because you can explain something without excusing it, and I think in this case it explains it but doesn't excuse it. And so it's
I think I'm just a lot more merciless to people in regards to like, because at that point Lorna D is still an active combatant. This isn't the same as a case like in the ICU,
or even with Elzar when he
cuts a bitch, when he fucking sliced that woman in half. I'm like, that's an enemy fucking around with equipment that could kill everyone.
But she wasn't an enemy.
She wasn't, but he doesn't know that. She's dressed in their colors. She's fucking around with important things. He does not know that. You only go in with the information you have.
No, but he also goes in without thinking. Thinking.
Oh, you're gonna ask when someone's fucking around with a nuclear launch codes? No, you're not.
He goes in without, but he does something that he definitely shouldn't have. I shouldn't say probably. He definitely shouldn't have.
A lot of things happen that they shouldn't.
But I'm saying, as a Jedi, because we're putting this on a discussion of as a Jedi, not as just a person, as a Jedi, because they are supposed to have certain ideals, right? So we're talking about this on the religious nature, right?
Oh, right. I keep forgetting that. Sometimes I forget that the Jedi are not.
They're not just regular people.
Yeah, I forget that sometimes.
They are people with superpowers who have religious tenets because those superpowers can unintentionally kill people. And in this case, he basically used force speed and then just the Flash ran towards him and cut him down.
Yeah.
Whereas a normal person, if they were to go do the same thing, they wouldn't be as fast. They would have, and they probably would have been noticed before they cut anybody down. And so, as a Jedi, it is his responsibility in that moment to have. He could have still quickly approached them and tried to surprise them, but killing them,
probably not the most necessary thing.
Apprehending, I can understand. Trying to apprehend them, that I can get. And there's ways that he could have done that situation, but of course we're past that. We're past that point.
Yeah, they're gone now.
There's not anything we can do now.
Yeah, and Stellan is dead, and it's his fault.
And so now the only thing he can do is try to atone for it, which I would say Elzar
tries.
I would say Elzar is on a better path of atonement than, say, somebody like Anakin. Because Anakin never truly atones, in my opinion. Because,
of course not.
While Luke forgives him, Luke was never personally affected by anything Vader really did that was awful. The worst that Vader does to him is cut his hand. And kill Ben. Those are the worst things that he does to Luke personally. Meanwhile, Vader also has, across the galaxy, brought terror and killed people,
Yeah.
destroyed families, the like.
So
And those
where
people,
do the
yeah,
charred skeletons of Onan and Beru, do you count those as,
I would say that's not Vader
or is
part.
that just
That's the
Empire
Empire.
doing
That's the
Empire?
Empire. So I would say that's the Empire's, because Vader never personally gave that order, as far as I
Hmm.
know. So I would, whereas, so like personal grievances.
Hmm.
Obviously, there are greater grievances overall. Like some people will put on Vader anything the Empire did. So I guess by that logic, yes, Owen and Beru are Vader. So I guess that is a personal thing.
That is one of the things where it's like,
When does it become Vader's
when does
responsibility to
it
take?
become the head, like, leadership kind of thing?
Because he is the leadership, he's the second in command
Yeah.
under the Emperor. So while he may not have directly given the order, it is still his responsibility.
Yeah.
So you can count Owen and Beru if you want to.
I'm not going to, because I think that's just Empire being Empire and doing what it does.
Because I don't know if he knew it was Owen and Beru. I don't know if he'd give the order. He might, because it's Vader at
Yeah.
this point, so he might do it. But
the thing about it for me is I don't see him doing that,
well,
mostly because of how Anakin is.
but Anakin doesn't care about Owen and Beru because they're not really his family. If you pay attention to the way he acts, the way he interacts with Owen in the prequels is very much like, you're not my brother. You're just some guy that is the son of the guy my mom married.
Yeah. Well,
Because he's literally just there for his mom and then leaves.
I'm gonna be real. If I was Anakin, I'd have fucking killed Watto the instant I saw him. After I got what I needed. He should be dead. I hope he's dead.
I think he's still alive post
Kill
6.
him. Give him no chance.
But yeah, so like, I don't know. But like where we see though,
Yeah.
like,
No, why would she?
Because she is not respond. She does not have. There's no
Like,
obligation.
I understand her not forgiving him ever.
There's no obligation to. Because while he didn't give the direct order to destroy Alderaan, he didn't stop it.
Mm.
Tarkin gave the order, but he didn't stop it, and he was there, and he stopped her from doing anything to stop it, because he did hold her back.
Like, what was she going to do?
I mean, she could have probably kicked some of those stormtroopers down that were in charge of the control panel, but like
probably, but not.
But not, it wouldn't have done anything in the long term. But
yeah,
like Vader, like he holds like,
no,
we see him physically restrain her. So yeah, he's responsible.
I'm like, in terms of,
well, at
that's
that,
another one.
although that's a one where it becomes gray because Tarkin is technically, it's a weird hierarchy thing because Tarkin is technically in charge of Vader, but Vader is also in charge of Tarkin.
Yeah.
Because Emperor's kind of like, y'all watch each other, okay? Because he wants them competing, because the Emperor plays those mind games all the time.
Fucking Tarkin and Vader being like, look, after that instance with the ISB and the Inquisitorius fucking up and going to the same place at the same time, we're never letting that shit happen again, okay?
Yeah. But we're gonna come back to Amadeo and them. But
I actually really like Amadeo and Miaro's kind of like relationship, and how
I
Miaro's
like,
I'll just cover for him. He's probably got
well,
this.
I also like the end where when he starts to doubt Amadeo, right?
Yeah.
So he goes, okay, maybe Amadeo isn't coming back.
Yeah.
He goes quickly through the process, very quickly through that grieving, where he's like, man, I hope he comes back. Kind of sucks that he's leaving the order. But then he's immediately like, oh, but it's fine. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like, if he chooses to leave the order, it's fine.
Like, Amadeo is...
Whereas, like, a lot of Jedi would be like, no, you're not leaving the order, and very controlling about the matter. But he's very much like...
like, look, if he left, he left.
Yeah. And so, like, it's very quick process compared to, like, other Jedi. Like, we see with Anakin, for example, in the Clone Wars, when Ahsoka leaves, Anakin tries to prevent that. Fails, but tries.
Yeah.
Whereas Miro's like, this is the journey that Amadeo has.
He doesn't want to do it, he doesn't have to.
And I think it shows a very different line of thinking
like
for
a
Jedi.
different mindset.
And so,
It's not
But
what
of course,
happens.
it turns out
As
Amadeo
it
was,
turns out, Amadeo is doing the equivalent of sleeping in the car.
yeah, because he's like, I just got back. I tried to send a message ahead of time, but the person I gave the message to, probably not reliable, so that's probably
Kinda
why you didn't get
shady.
it. He's
Sorry
like,
about that.
and Miro's like, you stink of booze. You need to shower. And
Yeah,
he's like, oh yeah, I got into a fight and they threw booze at me, and so that's why.
like
He's like, you got into a fight?
you get to a fight.
You went to a club?
Yeah. It's so great because it's just like it's like if your dad had like come to the
And of
well,
course, Amadeo's like, what, 16?
yeah,
Which is, we've talked about this, technically the legal age within Star Wars, because,
it's like 13-ish, I think.
what's that? I think it's just 16.
It's like it's
Straight up.
very low.
I think
like,
it's just 16 straight up, because that's
Yeah.
what Wreath is in Into the Dark, and they have their graduation party.
yeah, and it's like, all right,
Or going away party.
yeah,
The going away
and
party.
so Amadeo is like explaining to Miyaro like, oh yeah, and then he starts freaking out like, oh, am I in trouble? Am I in trouble? And he's like, no, just it's like Amadeo. I'm so sorry. I didn't think it would get like this. I'm sorry, Amadeo. I don't know what I was thinking.
He's like, no,
Amadeo,
I'm just trying to
go
tell you to take a shower. And then he asks him, was there anything else you got up to? And Amadeo gives like a shit-eating grin and is like, no.
No,
And
nothing that comes to mind.
Amadeo absolutely slept with
He
that
did.
woman.
No hiding it. He's like,
It's that if you've ever experienced, so this is where personal things, there's that glow
mm-hmm.
from the first time. Amadeo absolutely has that glow. And that's why Mira's like, yeah, you did, but you're not gonna say. Because Amadeo has that glow,
Like-
absolutely.
like, I fucking knew it.
That could also be the booze, though.
That could be the booze. He did spend a lot of time drinking.
He even has like that morning after, like, I've been out all night eyes they talk about.
I've been
I've been out all night
It's like-
drinking.
Like I did it. I made it home on time, but also I like passed out in the car before going to work.
Yeah. Because it's like, I know I gotta be in the car in the morning anyway, so
I'm just
rather
gonna
than
go-
going to bed.
I'm just gonna sleep in the car.
But it's not even that. He got to the car just as they're about to leave for work,
Yeah.
is essentially what happened. He's like, I was out all night. I'm not even going to get to sleep. But thankfully, I'm carpooling. So I'm just getting I'll get in the carpool passenger seat and just nap there.
Yeah.
And so
Uh,
it ends well,
it's
though.
so great. I like the Call of Coruscant.
And I think that's a great way to
Yeah.
end the book. So that's all the book stories that are in this book. This is almost a 10 out of 10 for me. It's almost there. Just because it's such a good
I'll
collection.
give it a 9.
Yeah, I'll give it a 9. Because once again, it's not a 10, but it is so close. It is so close.
What would it have taken to be at 10?
I don't know. It's definitely an in the moment thing.
Maybe adding the last story.
Maybe adding the last story. Give us Crash in the book without me having to get a special edition version from a different store. I can't complain though. This was a free
Overall, though.
this was a free copy, so I can't complain.
Yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. It was great.
Yeah, it was great. I definitely recommend this. If you are a High
Yeah.
Republic fan and you've read Phase 1 and Phase 2 and you're getting ready for Phase 3,
You should.
this explains so many things that are going to be upcoming. And plus there's so many, they're all just good stories anyways, even if they weren't explaining what was going to happen. They're just such good stories anyways. But yeah, so thank you all for watching today's episode of Escape Reality Star Wars Talk. I've been your host, Caleb. Be sure to like, comment, follow, subscribe to us. You can find us at Escape Reality Films on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, and TikTok. You can also show your support for us by joining our Patreon, which is at Escape Reality Films. Shout out to Jennifer Brantley.
Thank you.
There you can watch our YouTube content a week before it's publicly available, although currently you can watch our content almost 3 months before I plan to release it, as we've been uploading the normal YouTube content there, but waiting until I'm finished with my Baldur's Gate 3 livestream run, which we're almost there, to go back to normal programming on the YouTube end. So if you've been missing my runs of Demon Souls or want to watch the D&D game, I began running before anyone else can see it. That's how you can do it. For actually, I've always said $10 a month. It's actually the $5 one that lets you watch content ahead of access. The $10 is just what Jennifer's at. So that's why I wrote $10, but it's actually the $5 one that gives you access to that. You can also find me on Twitter at Escape Reality 94 and Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Caleb.Lockwood. And then, of course, we also have D&D stuff on your end.
You can catch up me and some friends of mine over at Trials of Naboo at the Steam Dungeon on Sunday from 5 to 7 Central Standard Time.
And that's on YouTube.
That's on YouTube, yep.
Any current updates?
I may have caused an international incident.
I think we should leave it at just that. Or do you want to explain?
So you remember how that lady, we were like, let's just go jump her at the docks?
Oh, were they a diplomat?
They were an admiral of the Noxian Navy. And we knew that going in. We didn't expect her to live. Like, we cut off her arm. We damn near killed her. The only reason she is alive is because of a magic get me the fuck out of here whistle.
And so because they got
away, one
of
the things that we couldn't have prepared for.
So because they got away,
know they had that kind of gear.
So because they got away, they were able to report back and womp womp.
And I'm like so close, like one more swing or shot from either of us. Cause like by the time we got done, we had cut off her arm, stabbed her, set her on fire, and tangled her. By the way, only 2 of us did this. Yeah.
So next time this week,
the other thing happened is the rest of the party went into like a gang's hideout and beat the shit and killed like all of their members and brought one of them back for questioning.
Okay. So this Sunday, consequences. All right. So once again, that's the show name is Trials of Naboo. Yes. And it's on the YouTube channel Steam _ or is it Steam _ Dungeon or just Steam Dungeon?
Steam Dungeon.
Okay, because I know on Twitch it was Steam _ Dungeon. Yeah. Okay, so YouTube it's just Steam Dungeon, and Sundays 5 to 7 Central Standard Time.
Yes.
All right, and once again, thank you all for watching. We'll see you all next week with From a Certain Point of View: Return of the Jedi. I have spoken.
Did you get that thing I sent you?